Welcome to Decker's Perennial Seminar. I'm going to start off with all of the sun-loving perennials. We have an amazing array. We have most that will be coming back, as well as a few that we brought in from California for those cactus lovers who just want to have some wonderful, unique things. And they can, of course, be brought inside. The most important thing about sun gardens, those of you who have full sun, whether it be on a hillside with a rock wall or anything like that, you do want to make sure you're putting all like plants in that area so they will all thrive with minimal watering. It's not to say they don't need any watering, it's just minimal. Okay, so what I've pulled is an array of wonderful sedum, and we have an amazing array of sedum, some that are going to bloom during the summer and others that will bloom in the fall. So you do want to, there are different colors on the sedum, so you can have the purples and grays, you can have hens and chicks come in green and also that silvery gray. There are sedums that have blooms, yellow blooms. They're kind of a quick ground cover for sunny spots. This is a wonderful stone crop. Everybody's familiar with the big stone crop, and I do have some in the back here. Those are terrific plants. So the autumn joy is the most prolific, larger sedum, and always put that in the back. It starts off looking very small with just green leaves, but by about this time, we'll start to see a little bit of bud activity at the top. They're going to keep getting taller, bushier, and the bloom doesn't come till late August into September. And they start off with a beautiful pink, and then they go to kind of burgundy. So it's really a terrific accent piece for the rear. What I've done is pull in some other perennials that will play well with the sedums. One is Nepeta with this beautiful purple bloom. You could also use the Russian sage. They both like it dry, not totally dry, they need some water, but again, they give you a lengthy bloom period. Not all perennials will do that. Things like dianthus, this pretty little pink bloom, that's blooms continually if you deadhead some, but eventually it will send up another set of blooms as well. What I have also brought in are yarrow. We have the taller yarrow in the yellow. Yarrow is a native plant, particularly the yellow color for Long Island. We do have some Long Island native small yarrow plants. It grows very rapidly. You'll get blooms very soon. Again, summer bloomer. I've also pulled some of the Echinacea. And again, the purple is the native color for Long Island. We have many other varieties too, which are wonderful to the assortment, but make sure you always have kind of impact with the purple color. And I've got them in different sizes. This is the Long Island native Heuchera, and then we've got the natives also in smaller pots. One thing when you're doing a sedum garden, a lot of it is relatively flat. So what you want to do is always plant your ground covers in the front and then work your way up, leaving a few gaps so you can pop in either colorful pots. I brought some of the cobalt blue glazed pottery. You can plant annuals in that, or these wonderful cacti from California. Another great plant is Coreopsis, and we have the beautiful gold color, and I also have the threadleaf yellow. That is also a long bloomer for perennials. So with those gaps that you left, now you want to pop in some color with some annuals. And this is where annuals really thrive. Lantana is a sun lover, so I have it here in the bandana pink and yellow, as well as the more sprawling golden lantana, which is a great one to attract hummingbirds as well. Zinnias can be more toward the rear, but again, that's a great butterfly attractor, as well as the birds. Cleome, again, for the back row, you need some impact, you need one color. These are going to bloom all through the fall, and I do have them in pink and white. zinnias, again, another great plant. That orange back here and then the multicolor over here. They're great for the butterflies to bring them in. We've also got marigolds. Again, marigolds like it dry. All of these annuals I'm telling you about prefer the dry, hot summer heat. And that's how you can get your perennial garden looking colorful throughout the season, and then culminating with a beautiful stone crop that will be gorgeous in the fall. In between the cobalt blue glazed pottery, I put some of the Lysimachia, or creeping jenny. It kind of creates a river through your sedum. And it just, again, that lime green color really makes accent for all the other shades of green. So you can have fun with pure, hot, sunny spots. Don't think nothing can grow there or whatever. We have so many things that will really enjoy that particular spot in your yard, so don't give up on that. It's always good to perhaps add a little compost, because usually those hot, sunny, dry areas are a little more sandy soil. So with that, I want you guys to all get creative. Come down and see us. We've got an amazing array, and Baxter will be coming on shortly with a beautiful shade perennial garden.
I'm going to talk about shade perennials today. It's a subject most people don't give any mind because they think you can't get any color in the shade, or it's just, that you're not going to have a lot of options for plants and whatnot, but that's, obviously not true, and we have a ton of different colors and shapes and textures of plants that I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to show you a few of my favorite ones. I'm going to start out with one of the staples. This is the Astilbe. It's one of the most colorful plants for the shade garden. Typically they flower, they'll start pushing out blooms right now, and different varieties will flower at different months of the year, but usually they'll go for about a month. This variety right here is Rhineland. It's like a light pinkish color. But when it comes to flowers for shade, it doesn't really get any brighter than these. They're obviously a great plant, pretty easy to care for. The only downside to Astilbes, which I find, is if you miss a watering in your first season, like they can, kind of get a little funky. So with that in mind, another, staple of the shade garden, which you probably don't see as much, is a goat's beard, which is, very similar to Astilbe. It has the same kind of flower plumes that come up. This one gets a few more flowers, but it's also a little more forgiving. So, if you're a novice gardener and you aren't going to be out there every 2-3 days watering your plants, you'd probably be better off going with the goat's beard. So, these are probably two of the most colorful varieties of shade perennial plants. The goat's beard also get, 2-3 feet tall, so it'd be something you'd want to do to the center of your bed, instead of in the front. Complement goat's beard and Astilbe, there's obviously a ton of different stuff. One of our most popular plants this year has been the bleeding hearts, the Dicentra. Obviously you could see, the flowers are little heart-shaped things hanging down from the stems. It's a great plant, flowers for like right around a month, maybe a little over that. The only downside I find to this is that it goes dormant about halfway through the growing season. So after that, it's just going to turn yellow and basically die back. So if you're planting these in your garden, you don't want to do them as a focal point, but it's still obviously a staple, and you can't really get a better flower than a heart shape. Some other stuff to complement that is obviously Heuchera. These guys do flower, but you don't plant them for the flower because it's pretty insignificant. It's more for the color and the texture of them. There's so many different varieties of Heuchera. You can get dark purples, which I have here. You got this yellow, got a nice caramel color. And the good thing about these is that, it looks like this all year. So you're not just waiting for a flower for a month. You get that interesting color contrast all year long. So you can, add a lot of shape and texture. And some of the darker leaf varieties can actually handle a little more sun. So you can use them in, a sunnier spot as well. So this is a great plant to put towards the front of a border in a shade garden. Ferns are another staple of the shade garden. There's obviously hundreds of varieties of ferns, but this tends to be one of the most popular, which is the Japanese painted fern. It comes out with this really nice color. It's a light gray with purple in the centers. It's edged, good contrast, doesn't get too big, right around 18 inches tall, and it won't spread like crazy like some of the other ferns, like ostrich fern, which can take over, your space if you let it go wild. The Spiderwort, this is probably the only perennial in the shade garden that will prolifically flower throughout the whole season. All the other plants like Astilbe and goat's beard only flower for around a month. So these guys are probably one of your only plants that you could get to flower through the whole season. So, it's another good variety to put in there. When it comes to shade, you have the most options for ground cover. Juga is one of our favorites. It's got this dark waxy foliage, nice blue flowers. So this is good, if you have a shady area that you just want to fill and let it take over. A Juga's a great one. Creeping Jenny is another one. Hydrangea, typically we sell this as an annual. But honestly, if you plant it in the ground and let it go, it can take over, you can take up a lot of space with this. And it's super hardy too, like survives the winter, no problem. It does get yellow flowers, but with the yellow foliage, there's really not much contrast there, but it's still great, for a rock wall or any area where you want something to kind of spill over. So that's a good one. And this is actually a new variety to us this year. It's a Geranium Espresso. It's kind of a ground covery type geranium for dry shade actually. So, dry shade is obviously one of the hardest and most inhospitable environments for plants. So this actually thrives there. It blooms late spring into summer. It's got nice little purple flowers, so this is obviously another good plant for that condition. Another interesting foliage plant is the Hakuna Koa. It's a clump-forming Japanese grass for light shade. The clumps get right around 2 feet wide. It has a nice texture, kind of flows in the wind. Really adds dynamism to your shade garden. These have been very popular in past years. The Lenten Rose. This is another really popular one for early spring. The flowers are stunning on it. Unique flower. Yeah, honestly, there's really nothing else like it. They flower early spring, so when everything else is just waking up, your Helleborus will be showing some color and, kind of getting the season started for you. So this is, a good thing to incorporate in your garden, when you're just starting to get back into things. Another staple, the lady's mantle. Another great plant, Alchemilla mollis. It's, you could put it anywhere within the shade garden. It grows like right around 1.5 feet tall. It's got these nice yellow flowers, and it also can spread out a little bit. So when you plant it, you want to give it some room to take over. It's a really cool plant, and actually in medieval times, they thought the dew that would form on these leaves had magical properties, so they'd use them to cure ladies' ailments. So that's where the name lady's mantle comes from. Another great plant for shade is the Clematis. Shade to part sun, obviously. Like, they can handle a little more sun depending on the variety. But it basically flowers all summer long. Some of the biggest, most vibrant flowers that you can get. Great for climbing a trellis in a shady spot. They're just beautiful. This one's purple. We have red varieties, blue, basically any color you can think of. Clematis will have it. And when it comes to climbers too, we also have the climbing Hydrangea, the Schism Fragments. This is actually a less common variety. It has like a pinkish purple flower instead of the traditional white. One thing to know about these, typically when you buy them, they don't flower for like at least 3 years. They're a little slow to establish, but once they take off, they really grow pretty aggressively. They also, you can plant them on a wall. They climb by aerial rootlets instead of vining or like an ivy does, so you could have it climb up the side of your house and not damage any of the siding or anything. That cool variety of Heuchera. This one's pretty common too, very timeless. The flowers are significant, but it's mostly grown for the foliage, so this is definitely, Heuchera's got to be a staple of the shade garden. Right. One of the coolest hostas that, obviously is popular is the Summon Substance. It's probably one of the bigger growing varieties of hosta. The leaves can literally get up to almost 4 feet long each. It gets, right around this tall, maybe like 6 feet wide. Like literally you could fill up a whole entire garden bed with just a few of these. It's just, a great plant. It almost has that tropical look once it gets really big. It's obviously got a nice color to it too. Another really common variety is the Elegans. These also get big, not quite as big as the Summon Substance, but it has a really nice shade of blue. Obviously one of my favorite hostas tend to be blue. They just, it's hard to find the color blue in the plant world. So something like this, contrasts with any other perennial that you know, plant. So this is, you know, a staple. If you guys want to know anything else or have any other questions, feel free to come in the store. I'd love to help, you know, and show you around.